Hello, hello. Can you hear me out there? I think so. I still have tears in my eyes. Maybe. So I'm going to be winging it here, getting the kids to bed, wife helping with that, of course, and had to come out to the garage, talk a little bit about the Oscars. Just ended. I'm going to pull up the website and we will share that and go through it. I'll be checking the comments as well. So if you guys have any comments, let me know. This will be a short stream. Just want to kind of talk about the broadcast a little bit. Obviously, you guys can come back and see this later as well. You don't have to watch it live. So you might be watching this in the future, which I just want to give some initial thoughts on the broadcast, the Oscars. The Academy Awards, a big deal for me every year. It's basically like my Christmas Eve, Christmas morning, whatever, what have you. It's a very exciting for me. I get into it big time. And this year, Everything Everywhere, all at once, racked up. It won 7 awards, I believe, out of the 11 it was nominated for, which is awesome. It was my favorite film among the nominees for Best Picture. I was so happy to see Mother, Michelle Yeoh, win one of my most hopeful awards of the night, and she ended up getting that. Talk a little bit about the broadcast, first of all. It was okay. It was awkward at times, but it always is. So I don't really hold that against the Academy or ABC or even Jimmy Kimmel for that matter. Yeah, I hate when they play off people's speeches and then they cut into like a weird comedic bit, which could have gone to the duration of the speech. They did that a couple times tonight, which kind of annoyed me. The musical performances were good. All 5 songs this year were really strong, I felt like. I thought the one from Everything Everywhere, ironically, was a little weird with David Byrne. That one just sounded kind of off key, and I know it was kind of a weird production, but the other ones all nailed it. I was so glad Not To ended up winning. I thought it was entertaining this year. I thought it was on par, but a little bit better maybe than previous years. It just felt a little more kind of in sync this year. And they were, I mean, it's 11:45. It ended maybe 10 minutes ago. So they only ran about 35 minutes over this year. If you guys are watching live, let me know in the comments what you thought of the broadcast overall. I thought it was okay. I've seen better. I've seen worse. There was no slap this year. There were no incidents this year, as they used that joke at the very end of the show where that was like the number of days since or the number of broadcasts since the last incident, and they changed it over. Kimmel had a couple digs at Will Smith on the show, which I felt like we didn't really need. He mentioned it went off without a hitch, or hitch. He mentioned that a couple times, Will Smith. Let's let that go. I mean, that was an unfortunate thing that happened, but it's not going to define the Academy Awards, I don't feel like. I'm going to pull up here over on the Academy page. Let me share that with you guys, and then we'll go through some of these categories. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see if you guys can see that over on the page there. Yeah, you can see that. So let's go through some of these. Actor in a leading role. By the way, my predictions were not good. If you guys looked to me to get insight on what to pick this year, I sincerely apologize. I did not do very well in my predictions this year. But I take solace in the fact that I think a lot of my critics / pundit friends probably missed it too, because some of them were seemingly obvious and they just didn't happen. This is one that was kind of up in the air. It was a little 50-50 between Brendan Fraser and Austin Butler. I, of course, went with Butler because that's my luck, and he was the one that did not win. It was also my favorite performance among the 5, and I've mentioned that before on many streams and on my podcast. I thought Austin Butler for Elvis was the best among the male nominees. But Brendan Fraser, a heartfelt story. It won makeup for the prosthetics they did in that role for him as Charlie in The Whale, which was phenomenal, don't get me wrong. And his performance was really heartfelt and felt really genuine in The Whale. And I'd always thought that it was like of course, we're not going to know, but I would not be surprised if that was like a 10 to 50 vote range split, like from the winner to second place. I assume it was a very close vote between him and Butler, but Brendan Fraser is your best actor this year. I missed there. Actor in a supporting role was pretty obvious. Ke Kwan. He ended up winning. Again, I'm in tears when this guy's giving a speech. He absolutely just breaks your heart every time he's on stage. I'm so happy for him. Really, really his victory in this category and Michelle Yeoh for leading actress were really, which is also the next on here as well. Those were really the two categories that I was like, please let these be the favorites, because if there is an upset in either of those category, like you want to feel good for whoever wins, and there was a lot of good people nominated here, but it's like those two, Ke Kwan and Michelle Yeoh, deservingly were the front runners, at least in the second half of award season, is for Michelle Yeoh. And I know she was kind of back and forth with Kate Blanchett for a while, but I'm so glad she won. I mean, these two speeches that you see on your screen here are these two winners, Ke Kwan and Michelle Yeoh. Those are the two that I was in tears tonight. Just, I mean, because of what that must have meant to them and the emotion of it and the culmination of their careers. Very similar trajectories, honestly. And being in a marginalized community and an underrepresented community in Hollywood, and to have that movie dominate, not just tonight, but I mean this entire award season, on top of it being just an amazing film and one of my favorites of the year, it was important for that reason too. And I think that's such an uplifting thing. That's so cool. And like I said, this guy, Ke Kwan right here, could get on stage and talk about literally the creation of the metric system, and I would be in tears within a minute and a half. The guy is just such an emotional and prideful person, and like you can tell that it just really means so much to him. Michelle Yeoh, same story. Absolutely loved her win too. Man, I know she was kind of there with Kate Blanchett, and it was kind of like this back and forth thing. And I think that a lot of people, it was split. I picked Michelle Yeoh. I predicted her there. She ended up winning. I know a lot of people picked Kate, and the two of them are besties too. A lot of great photographs of them together during award season and stuff like that. I don't think anybody would have been necessarily upset if Kate Blanchett had won for Tar. I just don't know that it would have meant as much to the proceedings. And I don't think it would have meant as much to Kate, honestly. I mean, she's won twice before. She's been nominated multiple times. She's probably going to be nominated many, many more times. She's a phenomenal actress, one of the best around, period. But Michelle Yeoh, you have this career path that she's taken, and she's not in those roles that are like generally recognized by the Academy. Everything Everywhere is a great one-off example that she was at the helm for that. But generally speaking, Crouching Tiger maybe before, but there's not a lot of times when, the movies that Michelle Yeoh has been in would be considered Oscar baity or in the Oscars conversation. So for her to get this opportunity and seize it, I feel like is much more important, than had Kate Blanchett won her third here. So for that reason, like I said, I wouldn't have been upset, but it wouldn't have been as an emotional of a win. It wouldn't have been as important of a win. It would have been like it would have made sense. Her performance as Lydia Tarr is, I mean, arguably, it's not my favorite of hers. I loved her in Carol. I think was 2015, I believe. But a lot of people say that her performance as Lydia Tarr is the best in her career, and I'm not going to argue with that. It's just my personal preference is not that performance, but what she did technically in that role, I could see that. My son, I let my 9-year-old stay up, and he said, "Dude," he looked over at me and my wife when they were getting ready to announce, and he said, "Dude, what if Andrea Riseborough wins this?" Could you imagine? Oh my god. I wouldn't even be able to sit here and do this live stream right now. Could you imagine Twitter right now if Andrea Riseborough had won this? Like, whoa, that would have been intense. Let's see. Yes, I'm gonna show a couple comments here, guys. If you have comments, please let me know. Michelle Yeoh, first Asian Best Actress. Yeah, I mentioned that at the top, also with Ke Kwan too. Catherine, thank you for your comment. I agree. I mean, just so important. And it's weird when a film can transcend, like, it's not about the movies. You know what I mean? Like, it is because it's a great movie and it defined the year, in my opinion, but it's so much more and it means so much to them, I'm sure, and to their communities. I mean, you saw how emotional they were. I agree with you. I'm so glad. Yes, Lady Gaga killed it. Thank you, Yanni. Yeah, I mean, Natu Natu won that, which I predicted for best song. But I tell you, I was actually a little worried when, for my prediction, when Lady Gaga performed, and then also when Rihanna performed, because those were powerful performances, both of those songs. Hold My Hand for Gaga and You Lift Me Up from Black Panther from Rihanna. They moved me, those performances. They really did. Whereas Natu Natu's like a banger, you kind of stomp your feet or whatever. But it's not like moving you emotionally like those two songs did. So I was a little like, oh, I don't know if the Academy had seen these performances. If the Academy members voted on the songs based on the performances, we might be in a different conversation. But Natu ended up winning. Let's go back to the page here. This was a shock. This was a bit of a shocker here. Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere. Now, I have a couple schools of thought on this. First of all, my prediction was Carrie Condon for Banshees. My pick, if I had a vote, would be Stephanie Hsu. That's the performance or the supporting performance from Everything Everywhere that I would vote for. But in my prediction, I said Carrie Condon because I felt like Angela Bassett was the front runner the majority of the season. And she started kind of falling off a little bit when we got around to the BAFTAs and kind of thereafter. And I thought to myself, okay, well, Angela Bassett is a veteran performer, a career actress, a previous nominee. If she's losing momentum, and then you have Jamie Lee Curtis coming in right around the SAGs because she won there, gaining momentum, these two are going to cancel each other out because they both have a similar story where they're career actors and they have a long resume and they've been in the business for so long and they have that pedigree that if people are voting based on that criteria, you're going to get some for Jamie Lee and you're going to get some for Bassett. And that leaves it wide open here. And Carrie Condon was one of the front runners because there's a lot of crossover with the BAFTAs and she won there. So I thought, okay, she's going to reap the benefits of that because anybody that's going to vote, like, we have to give kind of like a lifetime merit award to one of these two, then Carrie Condon is going to swoop in and take over. That, of course, didn't happen. And Jamie Lee won here. Now, what I think the second layer to that is that even though my prediction was wrong, that's A. And even though this is the weaker, in my opinion, of all five of these, Jamie Lee's is the weakest performance-wise. Not only that, it's the weaker of the two from the same movie, Everything Everywhere, in my opinion. So with that being said, it's going to surprise you that I love this win. I love it. I would not have voted for her. I would have voted for Stephanie Hsu, and I did not predict her. I predict Carrie Condon. And frankly, I liked Angela Bassett a little bit more too from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Jamie Lee Curtis in this film is just, it's almost like a comedic relief kind of slapsticky role. She does phenomenal in it, and I couldn't see anybody else playing that role. And she's been, but the thing with her winning, I'll go back to the comments in a second if you guys have anything to say about this win. I feel like this might be the big surprise of the night. And maybe I'm off there, maybe I'm reading the room incorrectly, but I feel like Jamie Lee's win is the big surprise of the night. There were some surprises, but this is the big one. But what I was going to say about Jamie Lee Curtis is interesting is that she hit at the right time. So you have to think to yourself as somebody who follows the Oscars or, how closely you are to it. You have to think to yourself, how important should that play into future predictions or whatever? Because we're not going on performance now, in my opinion. We're not going on performance. This was not a Oscar. I'll just say it's not an Oscar performance. Now I'm saying that and she has the Oscar. So that I'm kind of making my point by also kind of going against my point. But she hit at the right time. She won the Screen Actors Guild Award, which is literally voted on by everybody that was in this room tonight, and then some. All her fellow actors and people in the industry voted her as the best supporting, and her speech was amazing. She thanked her parents who never got a chance to accept awards like that. She did it again tonight, by the way, with the Oscar as well. So it was a moving speech. It was a award honoring her career. And as a horror guy with the Halloween poster literally plastered behind me on every video I do on YouTube, Laurie Strode is my shit. I'll just tell you right now, she is the final girl. She got up there on the stage tonight winning for this. She thanked genre films. I wish she had said the word horror. How great. I mean, nobody else at the Academy is going to say the word horror anytime soon. It does not appear that way to us horror fans. So I wish she had used that word, but she did say her genre film fans, which those are horror movie fans, just so you guys know. She thanked us, and I put myself in that group of, just weird freaks that love these horror movies and things that generally the Academy doesn't recognize. So to me, Laurie Strode was on the stage, if that makes sense. To me, John Carpenter was on the stage with her. Hell, Michael Myers was on the stage with her, in my opinion. It was really a win for her career and her career in genre films. While I enjoyed her in Everything Everywhere, if you're just looking at 5 performances that are right here on this page, she's not the winner, in my opinion, even though I loved it. There's just better ones. I don't know how else to say it. But because of her story and because of how she hit at the right time, it makes sense that she would win this. But aside from maybe Hong Chow, who also was really great, by the way, in The Whale, but aside from maybe her, I don't know that there would have been a bigger surprise in this category. I don't know if you guys have any comments over there on Jamie Lee winning. But, Dan's here. What's up, Dan? Let's see. Catherine says she loved it. Jamie Lee Curtis's character is so iconic. It was based on a real IRS agent. I had read that before too. Both shapes were hanging out in LA today. That's correct, Dan. What's up, brother? Let's see. He only watched bruh haha says he only watched to see another slap, so he wasted 3 hours for nothing. Yeah, I gotta be honest, man. I'm glad there was no slap tonight. I mean, I know you're poking fun there, and that's in jest, but man, that took the air out of the room last year when that happened. I mean, it was just like nobody cared what won or who was presenting or anything that was happening. It was all about that slap and was it real and is Chris Rock going to say anything? Is anybody going to take Will? I mean, it was just literally everything was about the slap and nothing about the Oscars going forward. And, frankly, it hurt Will Smith from an Academy perspective too, I feel like, because, what was the Apple TV movie, Emancipation, that he was in this year? Great performance. He could have easily been recognized for that, but the Academy's not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, obviously, because of what happened. But get back to some of these. The thing with Jamie Lee, I think I voiced my opinion there. I like the win. I think that's the big surprise of the night, to be honest. Not a surprise, as animated feature went to Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I think everybody under the sun pretty much knew that. Cinematography went to All Quiet on the Western Front. That was my pick. This was a pretty open category, but I think that is the right call. I want to ask you guys too, if you watch the whole broadcast, I'm an Everything Everywhere person. So I predicted it and I've been championing it pretty much all year. And it's the only film in that Oscar 10 that I loved, that I was really, really on board with. I mean, I loved Elvis and a couple other movies I really liked, but Everything Everywhere was far and away the best movie of the 10, in my opinion. So I was really pulling for it. And there was a point I felt like during the broadcast, about maybe the halfway mark or the 2-hour mark, where All Quiet was on a streak. We had a run of All Quiet wins. Some of them expected, some of them not. We're going to get into a few of them right here in this in the below the line category, starting here with cinematography. I did pick it for cinematography. So when this happened, I was kind of like, okay, cool. They're going to give it cinematography. It's going to get international. And, here, All Quiet. Thank you for coming. You made a great movie. You know, make sure you thank Netflix for nothing because they didn't promote it enough, in my opinion. But there you go. Well, that didn't happen. I don't know did you guys feel that kind of like the 2 hour mark, like all quiet, like, oh, they're not so quiet. They're kind of coming in here. And I got worried because I guarantee you, and again, we don't know, but I guarantee you that All Quiet on the Western Front was probably the runner up for Best Picture. I would bet a lot of money if we could get those stats that that would have been your number two in the voting. So I was thinking around that point where it started getting a lot of these technical awards, like the Academy loved that movie. And I mean, they already nominated above and beyond what we expected. And now it's winning all this technical stuff too. And obviously, the technical stuff is what goes into the film. So if these branches love these, specific categories as much as they do, then maybe we have a real threat here for Best Picture. I'm curious if anybody else kind of thought that, or if you never waned on your kind of belief that Everything Everywhere was still going to be the winner. Of course, it ended up doing that. But what's up, Drew, brother from another mother? Thank you for tuning in, brother. Just going through the winners, Drewski, and kind of talking about what surprised us, what didn't. Costume design. This one surprised me. This is going to sound bad, but actually somewhat kind of disappointed me. Ruth Carter's an icon, an amazing designer, but I felt like Wakanda Forever was the first movie from a costumes perspective. They had the underwater thing, and there were some new things introduced. But what I have a problem with is when I look at the other nominees in this category, and I'm a Babylon apologist, truth be told. I love Babylon. I love the recreation of the Elvis costumes in 3 different decades in Elvis and what Catherine Martin did there. I've already talked a little bit about Everything Everywhere, and Harris Goes to Paris. Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris is one of the few I haven't seen of the movies that got mentioned tonight, but I've seen the costumes, and they're great period piece costumes as well. So this was a surprising one to me, and I don't think I'm alone there. I didn't see, to my knowledge, anybody really predict Wakanda Forever or Ruth Carter winning that this year. And I just felt like it was similar to Black Panther, which she won for as well. So I don't know. So every time she does a Black Panther sequel now, is this what, I don't know. I just didn't see a lot of new innovative things that would jump out at me that would make it such a front runner this year, especially with movies like Elvis and Babylon and Everything Everywhere, frankly. So that one surprised me a little bit, and I didn't predict it. I wasn't even close to predicting that one. As we get closer down here, directing, I think you can pretty much. I don't know. I mean, I'll ask you guys. Feel free to comment, and I'll be happy to throw up on the screen. But I felt like when this happened, that we were there. It was Everything Everywhere. And I didn't necessarily feel it was screenplay, which hasn't popped up on the screen here yet, but they also won for original screenplay, the Daniels. But I still was a little bit like, they need directing. I don't know. And maybe they didn't. Maybe it still would have won picture if like Spielberg would have won here or something. But I don't know. I just, in my mind, I was second guessing it, I guess, but I just still thought to myself they needed directing. They get it. And then I was like, okay. And I actually there were no nerves for me. Now that would have been crazy had they lost film or picture, because then I would have been, I would have fainted. But when they won the directing Oscar, I was like, all right, that's your best picture because of everything that preceded it. And it was kind of like, what else are you going to give it to at this point if you are giving it screenplay and directing, not to mention the acting awards that are racked up. So yeah, I was pretty settled in there once I saw that. As we go, documentary, I picked Fire of Love is what I predicted, but Navalny wins. I kind of thought that was going to happen. I didn't see Navalny. I'm weird about picking movies I haven't seen just based on what I hear. But I heard a lot of my critical friends and pundits and stuff pick Navalny, and it was a front runner, and he won previous awards. I still haven't seen it. I need to. I saw Fire of Love, I saw All That Breathes, and I saw All the Beauty and Bloodshed. Those are the 3 that I saw. I liked Fire of Love the best, and I thought it was one of the more popular in this category. It's on, I think, Hulu or Disney Plus. And I've seen it advertised, and I know they just announced they're going to do a narrative film based on the documentary, based on the story. So I thought maybe all that kind of in the zeitgeist stuff with Fire of Love, popularity, if you will, would catapult it to enough votes to win. But of course it didn't. And Navalny walked away with it there. Again, I know a lot of people picked that. So I kind of was like, all right, well, I guess I didn't get one up there picking Fire of Love. And then we got some shorts. The Elephant Whisperers was a surprise. I got to go back and look at Matt and some of my friends' pages. I don't think anybody picked that. I saw a few of these I watched that I could watch on YouTube. I loved Haul Out. If you guys haven't seen Haul Out, that is a freaking great short film. Stranger at the Gate is really, really good as well. And that's what I picked to win. That was the most powerful. I think I saw 3 of these. Yeah, I saw 3 of these. That was the most powerful one to me, Stranger at the Gate. It was a really, really good story and very timely as well. And I've seen it advertised and stuff. I thought Stranger at the Gate was going to walk away with this one. And I loved Haul Out, so that would have been my number 2. But I haven't seen The Elephant Whisperers. I didn't know anything about it. It wins. And I don't think anybody predicted that. Film editing, what I like to call my daughter's category, because she's a film editor. And we were texting back and forth and everything everywhere. I mean, she as well as an editor was like, this is what needs to win. And I think so too. I think Elvis is very frantically edited, and you get that a lot of times with Baz Luhrmann films. So I thought maybe Elvis might sneak in there. Top Gun Maverick also edited flawlessly. But yes, I did predict Everything Everywhere, and I'm glad that it won here. I got to see if we can find a tally online too, because I think a lot of films went home empty-handed. But I'm sitting there thinking, I think Elvis went home empty-handed tonight. I don't think it won anything, and it was nominated for quite a few. I'll have to, when we get through with this list, I'll see if I can find that. If Dan's still watching, or if somebody wants to try to find that link and drop it in the chat for me of the tally of awards, because I think Tar came up empty-handed. I think Elvis did. Yeah, that's crazy. A lot of nominations for those movies, and I don't think they got anything. International feature. Here we go. All Quiet on the Western Front. And we start to kind of see the wave a little bit with All Quiet right around here. Makeup and hairstyling went to The Whale. Now, I'd like to throw it to you guys as well. But when this happened, I said, Austin Butler's in trouble. That's what I said. So when I made my predictions, I actually did a video on my YouTube channel and also put it on my website. But when I made those predictions, I picked Austin Butler to win Best Actor. And a lot of that was tied to the success of these categories like makeup and costumes, neither of which Elvis won. So when they announced makeup and hairstyling for The Whale, I kind of knew the fate of Best Actor. I said to myself, and I think I said to my wife, Butler's in trouble. I thought Brendan Fraser was immediately the front runner when this happened. The Academy was obviously taken with the transformation of Charlie and the Whale, and the performance by Brendan Fraser is to die for. I mean, I didn't even like the movie, and I cried because of his performance and the connection that he gives us as the audience. I really did. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Whale. I'll just tell you right now. I mean, it was okay. You know, it was like a 3. I mean, it was okay, but his performance will affect you. It really will. And I feel similarly to like Tar, for example. Like I didn't love Tar. I know a lot of my friends do, and whatever, that's fine. But I loved her in it. I love Kate Blanchett in it. So it's kind of similar to me for The Whale with Brendan Fraser. But anyway, when it won makeup and hairstyling, I said, it's not going to be good for our boy. I think Austin Butler needed this category for Elvis and needed costumes for Elvis, or at least one of them. And I already mentioned how Black Panther somehow won costumes this year. I mean, that's based on the popularity and the camaraderie with Ruth Carter and the Academy. They love her, and I do too. She's great. But with those two categories gone, I was kind of hanging my head like my predictions are going to be even worse because Austin Butler's in trouble. But the whale wins for makeup and hairstyling. Let's see. God, I got to share this thing again. I'm gonna go back over and do that. But hello, Brett's here. I'm gonna talk to. I'll do that in a second. Let me leave that there for a second. Let me go over and do this real quick. Bam. If you're in the Facebook group, do that for me. You got to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, and you got to give StreamYard permissions. That way I can see who I'm chatting with. If you're in the Facebook group, please do that. I'll leave that up there for a minute. Brett, thanks for joining, man. Thanks for watching. He says he loves Jamie Lee Curtis, but he really wanted to see Stephanie Hsu win. We spent some time on that, Brett. I agree with you. If I had a vote, which of course I don't, my vote would have went to Stephanie Hsu, and I think the dream was alive. The dream was alive for Stephanie Hsu for there was ever so much hope that people like us that are saying things like what's on the screen here right now, she would get some votes. I'll take that away. If you're on Facebook, there you go. StreamYard.com/Facebook. Just do that for me and then test it out if you want. Drop something else in the chat because I don't know who this is. Hey. But hello, whoever you are. But yeah, I agree with you, Brett. I think Stephanie Hsu, I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I absolutely love her. But let's be honest. That is a vote for her career. That's a vote for her entire career, which is great. I mean, that's great. I mean, she's had one hell of a career. I was talking about Halloween. It's behind me. I mean, she's my final girl. Oh, it's Marshall. What's up, Marshall? Brother from another mother. I love that you still have the Tar Heel emblem on your profile pic, man. Tar Heels for life, but what a bummer this season. Am I right? I know we're talking Oscars tonight, but whoa. The Heels let us down, Marshall, this year. Thanks for joining, though. That's my boy. But yeah, Brett, I agree with you. It's a surprise win. I'll just leave it at that. It's a surprise win. I love Jamie Lee. I'm so happy for her. But I would have easily given that to, frankly, anybody else in the category. I know that sounds bad. But yeah, I mean, with the exception of maybe Hong Chow, who I also really liked, I think everybody was really strong in that category. And I just didn't see Jamie Lee winning that. I mean, again, based on her career, I'm glad she did, but I didn't see it happening. Now, this one killed me, guys. If anybody in the future, I doubt you're watching live, anybody that voted in this category for original score didn't vote for Justin Hurwitz for Babylon, I literally don't understand you. I just don't. Now, let me put a caveat in there that All Quiet's my number 2 of these nominees. All Quiet is a phenomenal, haunting, uniquely composed score. It's almost like, which kind of speaks to my sensibilities what I'm about to say, but it's almost like a horror score in a war movie. And of course, war is horror. And so I get that, a little meta kind of in that way. But it's like, when I say horror, I don't mean the horrors of war. I mean like a killer stalking someone, like Michael Myers chasing the babysitter at a slow pace, like that kind of score. Boom, 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 very dramatic, but very eerie and haunting at the same time. It's a freaking killer score. Like, I get it. But the score in Babylon is like out of this world, unbelievable how Hurwitz and the team captured what Damien Chazelle was trying to give us visually. It has a rare thing, and I think, if any of the Babylon armies watching right now, throw up something in the chat to support me here. But I feel like Justin Hurwitz with the Babylon score is the rare thing where he is telling us how to feel about the movie and about the story based on what we're hearing with the music. With no performances needed, no dialogue needed, hell, not really even any visuals needed. Just what he did as a composer for this movie translates the feeling of the film. It doesn't accompany the film i- like a lot of scores do. It's like one of the stars of the film. Um, and among these nominees, I mean, it's just unfathomable to me that this did not win Best Score. I literally can't believe it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wish the Batman had been nominated in this category as well. I felt like that was a travesty when it was left off the short list for that and it didn't even get a nomination. But Babylon, guys, I don't know if anyone else shares my disdain for the results in that category. Even though I love the All Quiet score, I just can't believe it. I mean, aside from Ki Kwan and Michelle Yeoh, this was the third most important category to me. I really, really wanted Babylon to win the score, especially because it was one of my favorite movies of the year, and I didn't think it was going to win anything else except maybe production design, which, by the way, it also didn't win. So the Babylon army needs to rise up. We're marching on Hollywood tomorrow morning. We got to figure out what's going on down there because I can't believe they didn't vote for that. Let's see. Brett says he's so happy for Brendan Fraser and Ki Kwan. I agree. Brett, I think you and I have talked about this before. I'm very happy for both of them, especially Key. I mean, this guy, and I mentioned it at the top, but I mean, he breaks my heart. I mean, this guy could talk to me about literally anything. I mean, he could literally read a Wikipedia article that he just picks out of thin air, and I'd probably start crying. I mean, the guy is an emotional dude, and coming from like the Goonies and Indiana Jones, and oh man, you could see Spielberg was happy for him in the audience, and like I don't know, maybe I was crazy, but I felt like there was a moment when they flashed to Spielberg while Key was giving his speech, and I feel like Spielberg had his phone out, like he was like capturing the moment or just putting it away. But everybody's so happy for him. Now, the Brendan Fraser thing, I agree with you, Brett. That's Encino, man, dude. I mean, that's my guy. I love Brendan Fraser. I love his comeback story. Austin Butler is my pick in this category, but I'm also holding on to the dream that Butler's going to have many more opportunities in his career, and he's proven what he can do now, portraying an icon in Elvis Presley. So he'll get a shot. I feel like he'll get a shot. So I'm with you. I'm happy for both of them, especially Key though. We talked about this a little bit already. Not to. There you go. RRR. Best song. I don't know if you. Let me ask you if the Academy was voting based on the performances night. What do you think of the 5 performances? If the Academy sat down, and they said, "Okay, you're going to cast your ballot. We're going to play the nominees for you," and they saw the performances that were on TV tonight. Who would you vote for? Just based on that. Now, the Not to is a banger. I wish they had gotten the real actors to be in there, that are the performers from the movie. That would have been great. But regardless, I mean, it's a great dance number. It just feels good. It was my vote. It's my prediction. But I'm only asking because applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand from Top Gun that Lady Gaga did, and God damn, Lift Me Up from Rihanna. That moved me, bro. Like I was like, hairs standing up on my arm. I mean, I love Rihanna anyway. She just did the Super Bowl. I mean, she's a freaking mother, queen. But I'm only asking because I was worried as I'm watching them. But of course, voting is over. I mean, the results are in. But I just feel like if the Academy had seen these performances and then voted, I don't know. I feel like maybe Lift Me Up or Hold My Hand. I mean, I don't know. Lady Gaga, she performed that like she was never going to sing again. I mean, that was crazy. Both of those were such moving performances, I felt like. Um, yeah. No, I agree. The category was stacked. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're probably right. I mean, you are right. I mean, it happened. You are right. I think that, like I said, I think that this award specifically that you're talking about there, Brett, was tied to other things. And it kind of told the story as we go through. So if Elvis, let's just say, had won costumes, and then if Elvis had won makeup and editing, and you see what I'm getting at, then we start to get a picture kind of painted for us like, Okay, they really liked Elvis. All right. So then when you get to the performances of the dude that's playing Elvis and the dude that's wearing the costumes and you know what I mean, and the makeup makes more sense. But you had the whale win makeup, which it wasn't nominated for a whole lot tonight, to be honest with you. We knew Hong Chow wasn't going to win. So you get the makeup and then you get the actor for Fraser. It makes sense in that respect. But I think that that was one of those that we just didn't really know. I mean, we really didn't know. It was much like supporting actress, where it was just like, let's see what happens. This is what I think's going to happen. And you said Fraser, and I said Butler. And in a parallel universe with a bagel somewhere, I'm right and you're wrong. I mean, it's nobody. It was literally a 50-50 category, and I equate that much to like supporting actress as well. Although that was like a three-headed race, really, than a two. But and then here we go for Best Picture. Everything Everywhere wins. I mean, what do you guys think the number two was? The runner-up? I think it was probably All Quiet, to be honest. It got Best International, it got Best Score, cinematography, which is a huge part of any movie. It really racked up. But that's your Best Picture, Everything Everywhere. Thank God. I mean, that's the movie of 2022. If that had not won, man, there's been upsets in Oscars history, I'm just going to tell you. But if everything, and I don't even care what would have been the winner, but if Everything Everywhere had lost tonight, that would have been arguably the biggest upset in Best Picture history, I feel like, if that had lost. I feel like everyone and their mother, no pun intended, was picking Everything Everywhere. It was winning Everything Everywhere prior to the Oscars. It won director. It won screenplay. If that movie had lost tonight, now of course this is hypothetical, but had that movie lost tonight, regardless of what would have won, that would have been the biggest upset in Oscars history, in my opinion. That was as close to we will ever be at a lock, I feel like. And I'm talking about in the last like couple weeks, it was a lock for that movie. Really prior to that too. And what's fascinating to anyone that might not follow the Oscars like super closely, what's amazing is that movie came out a year ago. And I don't want to get off on a rant here. You guys can comment to shut me up if you want, and I'll throw your comments up on the screen. But I've always been a big proponent of we don't have to release everything at the end of the year. We don't have to, studios, I mean, don't have to hold their Oscar-y projects until November, December. And that's when we get 50 movies that are in the Oscars discussion. You can release movies throughout the year. If they're universally beloved, they're going to last. This movie came out a year ago, literally a year ago. And I'm not even talking about to the general public. It was premiered at South by Southwest in March of 2022. South by Southwest just started this year. I think it's going on right now, actually. So 1 year ago, almost to the day, that movie premiered for audiences. And then the general public got it like, I don't know, maybe a month later in theaters nationwide. It's a weird movie. It's a niche film. They mentioned it on the broadcast tonight, actually, but I'd heard before that Daniel Kwan was like, let's take my mom's story, but she's in the Matrix. And that was kind of the idea of Everything Everywhere. It's a multiverse film. It's a superhero film. It's obviously sci-fi and time travel. It's funny. I mean, it's freaking hilarious with the raccoon and the hot dog fingers. And it's just so, the pet rocks. I mean, it's just so strange. And it is like, it is like these students made this weird student film and they got A24 to get behind them. And now here it is as the best picture. That's what it feels like. Of course, not what it is. They've been doing it for a while, the Daniels, but that's what it feels like, and I really, really champion that. It's much like when Parasite won in 2019. That was not an Oscar movie. That was not a Oscar baity movie. It was not a film that, Neon was the studio for that one. It was not a film that they held on to all year. I feel like it came out late. It was like maybe October, but it wasn't like late. But Parasite was also that kind of movie where it was like really weird. It was borderline horror, which of course I think is great whenever that can creep into the conversation anyway whatsoever. It was not one word of English was spoken in it. I I see a lot of parallels with 2019's Parasite and this year's Everything Everywhere, and I love it. Let's get those strange films in front of people and let's award them for being different. And I don't think anybody can argue that Everything Everywhere is a unique film that is very different. I know Brett's in the chat right now. I went on his show a couple months ago. We talked about this movie. Make sure you guys look up Dissect That Film if you want to check out that episode. But of the 10 nominees right here, I saw all these, and I'm just going to tell you now, this is my opinion, of course, but that's the best movie of the year among these 10. Wasn't my personal favorite movie of the year. If you guys want me to hop back on my Babylon horse, I'd be happy to do that. There's also a couple other ones that I may have preferred a little bit more that were genre films, etc. But of the films nominated here that you're looking at on the screen, Everything Everywhere not only is the best one of these 10, but it's the most unique and it stands out from the crowd. It really does, and we're going to get into some of the lead performances here in a second. We talked about Michelle Yeoh. We talked about Brendan Fraser winning. But I got to tell you, I mean, I just can't think of how big that upset would have been if this movie had lost. Like, even the thought of it is like blowing my mind. I mean, it didn't happen, thank God. But I thought All Quiet was really creeping up there. I really did. And I had always thought they were kind of an upset kind of thing waiting to happen. And I love this movie. It was in my top 10 movies of the year, All Quiet. It blew me away when I saw it. Phenomenal film. But nothing could have beaten that this year, Everything Everywhere, and I'm glad nothing did. That was your best picture. Let's see what else we got on here. Production design. Should have gone to Babylon. I mean, what are we doing, guys? It got nothing. That's another movie that got 0, by the way, Babylon. Oh, man. Let's check. I got to check that. Has anybody got the tally yet for me? Oh, God. I can't believe that got 0. I was walking away with nothing. All Quiet on the Western Front, a great film for production design. I picked Babylon, obviously, but that is not a bad pick. I tried to watch a lot of these shorts, the ones that were available on YouTube, at least. My Year of Dicks is actually really good. And I also love it because it's a really short film. It's like 20 minutes. The rest of them are pushing 40. So that was the one I liked the most. But, this ended up winning The Boy, the Mole, The Fox, and the Horse. A lot of weird names this year. Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I think I believe it. Irish Goodbye I picked. I also watched that one. That's a great film. The Red Suitcase was good. Night Ride was good. Night Ride was a little bit like a little quippy. It was like a kind of a fast watch. So I was like, I don't know, maybe people will dig that. But I did pick An Irish Goodbye, and that's what ended up winning. Another Babylon high horse I'll get on here. How was it not nominated for sound? I mentioned this in my productions or my predictions video. I mean, the movie's about the creation of sound into film, and there's so many scenes in that movie that deal with sound being introduced to this world, and it didn't get nominated. Top Gun Maverick won here. I think that's the only award that Top Gun Maverick won tonight. And that one I thought was going to go home empty-handed. I had picked All Quiet to win here. But yeah, Top Gun wins there. Visual effects was a no-brainer. Avatar: The Way of Water. I mean, literally the most layup category. I don't even think it's fair, to be honest. I don't even think this should be eligible for visual effects. I think whenever Cameron releases an Avatar movie, it should just get an award. Like, there's a new Avatar coming out. All right, James, here's your Avatar award. We're just going to give you your own award, and then we'll let the other visual effects artists do their work and get nominated. I mean, it's literally not fair. Same thing with the original film. From a visual effects standpoint, regardless of what you think of the story and the acting and all that stuff, visual effects, I mean, what could beat that? The Avatar, whether you like them or not, when you're just looking at them, and I'm merely talking about this category of visual effects, it's not fair. I mean, all these movies are great, but it's just like, if Avatar: The Way of Water is in a visual effects category, why even vote? Like, here you go. This is somebody called James Cameron, tell him he's got the award, and we're moving on. He wasn't there tonight. There's a lot of talk that maybe he didn't go because he didn't get nominated for director. I don't think he should have got nominated for director for Avatar. I think the guy's a freaking legend. but that movie wasn't his best work from the directing chair, in my opinion. So I hope that's untrue, but I kind of heard rumblings of that. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that Women Talking and Sarah Polley won adapted screenplay here. The only award that they won tonight, only nominated twice for this and for Best Picture. Sarah, I'm just going to tell you, Sarah Polley should have been nominated for director. The Daniels were my front runners to win that. They would have won that even had she been nominated. But we need to get women into the nominees. Like, women make these films. I don't understand a film being nominated for Best Picture and possibly a lot of technical awards, and then the director's left out. The biggest one to me, the most glaring one is Greta Gerwig for Little Women a couple years ago. Was nominated for like 7 or 8 Academy Awards, but not director. Picture. I mean, it was crazy. It was like everything that it took to make the movie, with the exception of the direction. It's just a weird thing that I'm not saying is intentional, but it does kind of jump out at a certain point where you go, "What do we do? What? There wasn't. You couldn't give me." And not only that, the Daniels are 2 dudes. My guest, a guest on my show recently, my friend Kinsey pointed out that this year it's even worse because there's 6 guys as opposed to 5 because we have the duo, the Daniels, and not 1 woman. But anyway, to get off the high horse there, my point being, I'm so thrilled that Sarah Polley won for Women Talking. For adapted screenplay, I feel like that was the right call. And then original screenplay, Everything Everywhere, which was also my pick, wins. I thought Todd Field had a shot here. I thought The Fablemans had a shot here. But at the end of the day, they did the right thing and it went to Everything Everywhere. So let's see if anybody threw up a link for me. No, they didn't. Okay. So I think Tara came up empty-handed. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. I think I know the Batman came up empty-handed, but it was only up for a couple. Babylon came up empty-handed. I'm pretty sure Elvis got 0 as well. Triangle of Sadness got 0. All in all, let me go back to the page here. There we go. All in all, I think it was a good broadcast. I guess I should be happy on some level that it didn't match up exactly with how I wanted it to, or how I predicted it to, if you will. I should be happy about that. I don't want it to be 100% predictable, if that makes sense. But, and I was just voting on my predictions. When it comes to like what we want, what our personal preference is, what we think the best is, that kind of thing, that's never going to happen. I mean, it's never going to happen for any one person anywhere ever. I mean, it would be a very, very rare thing. That's why when a couple years ago, when like Promising Young Woman was in the mix, because that was my number 1 favorite movie of the year, along with Carey Mulligan's performance. So I really championed that when it was in the awards discussion, because I'm like, this could happen. My personal favorite movie could also be the best movie. And I know that happened for a lot of people this year with Everything Everywhere, which I think is freaking great. For me, it would have been the equivalent of like Babylon or Bones and All winning Best Picture, which they weren't even nominated. But it's just a rare thing, and it doesn't happen super often where like the consensus favorite movie, if you will, is also the Best Picture. Parasite, I've mentioned already on this stream, is the only time I can really, really think about it and really put my finger on it. To be honest with you, because that was my favorite movie of 2019 and it ended up winning Best Picture. But it's rare. It's a rare thing. I think the broadcast is good. I thought Jimmy Kimmel did okay. He, I mean, he's all right. I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of the dude. I mean, I don't dislike him. I could feel he was a little off in the beginning. I felt like he was kind of tiptoeing around a little bit. Like he didn't want to take shots at people. And because of that, it was kind of holding him back. I'm not saying he was afraid of getting slapped or anything. But at the same time, they probably told him, like, let's not insult people or like whatever. So he wasn't really insulting people, which is fine. I'm not saying he has to. But I'm just saying in the past, I feel like he would have been a little more willy-nilly with what comments he was making to different celebrities and stuff. And I just felt like it was a little restrained and really unnecessary, to be honest. And then there were a couple comedic bits or whatever during the show that I felt like were ill-timed too, or I mentioned earlier, where they like cut off somebody's speech and then they would go into this joke thing that wasn't really even funny. And it was just, the thing with the cocaine bear was funny on stage with Elizabeth Banks. That was funny. When she came out, which by the way, did you see she almost fell? Did you guys see that? She almost tripped and fell. And I was cringing because I'm like, please don't fall. Please don't fall. Because I could see her heels getting tied up in her dress. I don't know if you guys saw that. And I was like, oh my God, she's going to fall. And she caught herself, kind of balanced herself. But why didn't she hold her dress up? I don't know. It was a disaster waiting to happen, but she luckily kept her balance. And then the cocaine bear comes out there, the dude in the bear costume, and they have a little bit. I think it was visual effects actually they were presenting. And that was funny. But then the cocaine bear guys like out in the audience while Jimmy Kimmel's doing this cringeworthy Q&A thing with celebrities. And it was just like, I don't know. I feel like every year we tell the Academy, stop doing these awkward comedic bits that are taking away from the celebration of cinema. I mean, either be a comedic, like, Globes, MTV Awards, like be that if you want to be that, or like stop doing that. Like those one-off weird bits. I mean, it's just the most cringy thing. But I thought Kimmel did okay. I could just feel that he had the cuffs on a little bit. He was being a little restrained because of what happened last year. And I felt like that kind of took a little bit away from the edge of it. I'm not saying I don't want to host, but it's like, what are we having them do at this point? And I don't dislike Kimmel, but like I love Conan O'Brien. I would love if Conan O'Brien hosted the Oscars. But do we really need him to? You know what I mean? Like, what are these hosts doing that the presenters can't do or the narrators can't do? Like, I just don't know. And we ran over again. 35, 40 minutes they ran over tonight. So I don't know. I'm tired, guys. By the way, the Golden P Movie Awards are tomorrow night. Any Oscars fans that are watching this, I do my own movie awards. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern if you want to check those out. My friend Brian Loy is going to co-host with me, and we give out awards in 7 categories. And that'll be officially the end of award season, I guess. I had to wait till after the Academy Awards. We're doing it the day after. It's tomorrow night. Hopefully you guys can tune in to check that out and support me and see who wins the Golden Peas, which, by the way, was voted on by you. So thank you to everyone that cast your votes. Those were my instant reactions, my initial thoughts on the Academy Awards. I'm sure I'll be all over Twitter the next couple days when more stuff even pops in my head. But thank you. I'm so happy that Queen Mother Michelle Yeoh won her Academy Award, and Ke Quan as well. Those were the 2 big ones for me. I wish Babylon had gotten that score, but at least we got those 2 acting and ones that I was just really, really wanted to happen. So I'm so thrilled that they got their awards and that Everything Everywhere got the notoriety that it should for this award season. You guys are the best. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching on Facebook, thank you as well. And that's it. I will see you guys live streaming tomorrow night at 9:30 for the Golden Peas, my own movie awards. Come back there, and we'll talk about movies again tomorrow night. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. Let's go celebrate Everything Everywhere all at once, guys.